And now on Lessons in Leadership, the leadership seminar that you've been waiting for. Now, Mary, tell folks, what are we talking about, by the way, these seminars, mini seminars?
These mini seminars can be found at stand-deliver.com. We're going to put up our talented editor, Sylvester, just put that up on screen. I'll go like this. If you go to our website, we have a treasure trove of past mini seminars that we've done on everything from conflict resolution to providing feedback to building relationships. So this is just going to be another mini seminar in our library. And if you're watching this and saying, well, I don't work in an office, or I don't think I need these tips and tools. All of these tips and tools can be used in life. They can be used with your children. Highly recommend it. They can be used with a spouse, a partner, friends, family. So listen up. You're about to get some great tips and tools on another Stand and Deliver Lessons in Leadership mini seminar.
All right. So here it is. This mini seminar, Lessons in Leadership mini seminar, is called, and you'll see the graphic, Don't Sweat the Q&A. What? What Q&A are we talking about? Look, all of us, whether we're doing this toward the back end of a presidential campaign to be seen later, whoever wins, and then we'll count for 4 months and see who actually won. So that being said, whether it's a presidential campaign, whether it's a corporate business situation, whether it's a student and that student gives a presentation and then there's a Q&A with the class or the teacher, regardless of the situation, all of us face questions. How do we deal with tough questions? I've seen people in sports. I'm a big sports fan. I got the Giants, as we're doing this game, there's always questions for the coach afterwards. Baseball, Aaron Boone, why did you leave that reliever in when the reliever had nothing? Why didn't you pinch it for so-and-so? Listen, the Yankees will have won the World Series by the time this airs. That being said, Mary, here are the tips and tools when it comes to not sweating the Q&A. Mary, what's up first?
Let's go with be patient and listen to the entire question. I don't know about you, Steve, but so often, and I think it's a Jersey thing. I know it's a Jersey thing. We talk fast, and I sometimes say I listen fast, which doesn't really seem to make sense. But I'll often complete someone else's sentence in my mind, or even worse, I'll finish that sentence and speak out. So what you need to do is be patient. You need to fully listen to what that question is, because if not, you may be answering the wrong part of that question by filling in the blanks. And plus, it's rude if you just interrupt somebody.
You finished? Because I don't want to interrupt you. You finished?
I'm giving you the ball.
So here's the deal. Let the questioner.
Of course, wait. Of course, you just happen to have a ball there when I handed you that ball. I just have to give you kudos for that.
So here's the thing. Mary's absolutely right. And you ever watch a press conference or a Q&A with the Board of Education, whatever it is, and someone's responding? Mary's right. First, it's rude. She's got that. Second of all, let the questioner feel as if the questioner actually gets the question out instead of you anticipating. It also gives you a chance to think and prepare how you're going to respond. Mary, bullet number 2, tip.
I just did it. We breathe. Why did I do that? And we teach and coach this in our seminars, that pausing, that breathing, that taking a moment, and I'm deliberately slowing down right now, so I probably sound ridiculous on the receiving end, but taking that moment to breathe, it allows you to calm yourself down, bring your blood pressure down just a little bit. I just had that come up. I need to keep my hands down.
No, but that's it.
I'm not even going to edit that in post because that's hysterical. That is Zoom. And yeah, so breathing will help you to deal when things go awry, and will just help you to calm your thoughts and, more importantly, prepare your response.
To Mary's point, before we go to the third bullet point or tip or tool and not sweating the Q&A, when you don't breathe, you can first die. But second of all, more likely, you're going to hyperventilate and your brain's not working at that point. Slow down. Mary, bullet number 3.
You want to be assertive and proactive in your response. And let's take a moment just to talk about the difference between assertive and being, how do I say, argumentative. So you want to make sure that you're confident. So we'll use assertive and, being very strong in your response.
Let's show what it actually looks like, Mary.
Mm-hmm.
There's no place for being aggressive or nasty. There's no place for arguing, and that'll come up in just a second. You don't debate and argue the questioner. Mary, assume for a second I'm the governor of the state, And I said during the campaign I wasn't going to raise taxes. 6 months in, I decided to raise taxes. Now there's a press conference. What are you going to ask me? Let's do it right now. I'll show you what I mean.
Absolutely. You said that you weren't going to raise taxes. What's going on here?
Well, first of all, Mary, it's a totally appropriate question. You're not the only one thinking it. And let me say this. During the campaign, I did anticipate that taxes would need to be raised. When I became governor, I realized that the finances in the state were not what they needed to be. We couldn't fund the schools the way they needed to be funded. We couldn't fund environmental programs. The bottom line is this. First, I shouldn't have said, in all candor, that we weren't going to raise taxes because I didn't know. That was my hope. If I don't do that now, and we don't fund our schools, and we don't clean the air and water, and we don't do the things that are necessary, frankly, I would be remiss in my responsibilities as governor. And I'm not going to do that. And people can decide for themselves. Now, I want to be clear. First of all, you don't avoid the question. You acknowledge it. Second of all, you're not going to win everyone over. Third of all, don't lie. You did say you weren't going to raise taxes. Now you are. That's just my view. Bullet 4.
Well, you just actually demonstrated bullet 4, which is flip the script. If somebody asks you a question and you're not quite sure that it's the question that you wanted to be asked, you could turn that question on its head. Sometimes we call it reframing the question. You can flip the script. I asked you a question, you didn't dodge it completely, but you flipped that script and turned it into a question that you would have preferred that I asked.
Well said. By the way, when you do watch a political campaign, watch how the candidates never answer a direct question in a debate or a press conference. They just start spinning and reframing without ever acknowledging the question. I'm no fan of that because everybody knows you ducked it. Mary, next bullet.
Let's talk about being concise. Too often, people just want to fill that empty space. There's white space, there's noise, there's other things going on in the background. They want to just keep talking. Instead, be concise, and that also helps you to stay on message.
To that point, there's an old expression, and it's not just in politics, it's in business, it's in life. If you're explaining, you're losing. Translation. People know when you talk longer and longer, it's probably because you're trying to figure out what you need or want to say, and you're making stuff up. Stay tight and concise. In that spirit, Mary, what do I have right here?
I was just going to say, you just teed that one up. Grab that football. We are going to talk about staying within the goalpost.
Now, people don't know this, but in high school and college, people say I didn't play football. I was a place kicker, so people can decide whether that's actually football or not. I had to stay within the goalpost to score a field goal, an extra point. What do we mean stay within the goalpost when it comes to a Q&A? What the heck does it have to do with kicking field goals?
There are words, phrases, messages that you want to make sure that you stay. You hear it all the time. Stay on point, stay on message. That's everything that's inside of those goalposts. Everything that is far outside, not on message, that's going to take you away and potentially put you in that danger zone of saying something that you're going to regret. Those are those things that fall outside of the goalpost, and that's not good.
P.S. The longer you're talking, the more likely you are to say things that are outside the goalpost and then say afterwards, I was taken out of context.
If I had $1 for every time, that out of all the things you've taught me, Steve, being concise in my communication is definitely one of my top 5.
Yeah, well, I don't always live by that rule. I say it, but I don't always live by it. Hey, Mary, let's be concise. And I said this before. Put it the bullet point. Don't debate the questioner. You don't win arguments, and that does not mean that you have to be a victim to someone asking you a question or be so subservient, but you don't argue, you don't debate. You reframe the question, you answer the question, you reframe it, but don't argue with people in public. You never win. That's just my opinion. I always tell in my leadership seminars, take what you want and leave the rest. The next bullet point, Mary, is anticipate the 3 or 4 toughest questions that you're likely to be asked, and then practice. Why do we coach people to do that?
So many people that we try to coach to do this say, how am I going to know the questions? There's no way to know. If you're going into a meeting to talk about why it's important to walk your dog every day, you can anticipate that people are going to say, well, why is it important to walk your dog every day? What are the benefits of walking your dog every day? What does it matter if I skip a day? There are specific questions that you could be sure that you're going to be asked, and the higher the stakes, the more challenging those questions are going to be. So don't try to pretend like you're not going to be asked those tough questions. By asking them yourself and practicing your responses, you'll be much better prepared.
And to that point, before we go to the last bullet, I've lost count of the number of corporate executives and others that I've coached who are shocked when a tough question gets asked. Now, ask yourself this. If you're the CEO of a bank or a corporation and your stock price is, and you think at the shareholders meeting, you're not going to get asked, Mr. or Ms. CEO, our stock price has dropped 50% in the last year. What are you going to do about it? And why should you still be the CEO? Oh, I can't believe you asked me that question. How do you not think that question is going to be asked? Prepare, think it through, and don't act shocked when you get asked those questions. The last bullet, Mary, is?
Don't be afraid to say, I don't know. And I can't tell you how much respect I have for someone, whether they're a public speaker, whether it's a friend, my spouse. When they say, I don't know, I'm like, I get you. We're human. Too often you just try to, again, fill in the blanks. And because, well, I have to have an answer, you asked me a question. And especially in a media interview, that's when you're really going to get into a sticky situation.
You know, we said that was going to be last, but I'm going to add a caveat. One is, I don't know. And the next thing, Sylvester put this last bullet, it was this. It is this. I was wrong. What? I said it before about the taxes. I'm not going to get political, but I'll say this. I do wonder when our president, as we do this program, President Biden, when he's asked about the Afghanistan withdrawal, and this isn't political, why can't he just say, it went wrong? I miscalculated. I didn't think it was going to play out that way, and I am responsible. It's true. It's not debatable, and it's not political. Point being, when leaders refuse to say or are incapable of saying, I was wrong, everybody knows it was wrong. Why not just say it? That's it.
I know we have a few minutes left and we're talking about going in another direction, but I do have one PS to that because I have a feeling a lot of people watching are going to be asking the question, if Biden or fill in the blanks, whomever, admits that they are.
Aaron, we talked about
go with Boone.
Go with Aaron Boone, the manager of the Yankees. Again,
right.
Scarlett and I were talking about this because he's a big Met fan and they're not going to be in the playoffs, so it doesn't matter. So, okay, they might be. But again, this will be seen later. So it is baseball postseason. It'll be seen after that. We're going into Super Bowl time after that, big, long football season. Do Aaron Boone. Why can't he say, or any manager or coach, leader, sports team, I was wrong by leaving Clay Holmes in the game in the 9th inning to save the game when he had blown 10 saves before that. I was wrong.
That's my question, because if he says that, is he then going to be held even on a higher level of responsibility? He's now accountable.
Get Elvin in here. As a coach, get Elvin in here real quick. Elvin, I know you're directing. Come on in here. This is important.
Elvin, our director, is going to be hopping on. But it's a serious question. As people deal with this, if you admit, hey, I made a mistake, now are there going to be ramifications of it? That's my question.
Elvin, how many times, and I'm not saying, oh, look at me, how many times in our production operation and offline have I said to you, Elvin, I screwed up. I was wrong. I did not, don't count the times, but I should not have handled it that way. A, you know that I do it a lot. B, do you think less of me when I do it?
No, I think more of you when you call me and you say, hey, I think I dropped the ball on that. I think it's good for a leader to always own their mistakes and say when they're wrong.
Okay, so one of my favorite books in our leadership library, Extreme Ownership, Own Your Screw-Ups. I just don't get, Alvin, why coaches and managers and leaders and presidents and corporate executives and presidents of universities or heads of production companies, everybody knows you acted a certain way. Everybody knows there was a mistake. But Mary, think about what Alvin said.
But 1 second, Steve. When it goes to coaches in professional sports, it's totally different. Because
Why?
Coaches don't always make the wrong decision because they're coaching grown men with egos, grown men who don't listen. And it's not always the coach's fault. A lot of times, these professional athletes stop playing for coaches because of the fact that they don't like the decisions that they're making. And that shouldn't happen.
But Elvin,
I'm not going to start screwing up our show because I don't agree with things that you say. You got to be a professional at the end of the day.
Elvin, but the idea of extreme ownership, which is one of my favorite books, is that the leader of a team owns all of it. Elvin, You own the play on the field. You own the production operation. You own what goes on at your university. It doesn't mean that you did everything yourself, but what the heck is the point of leadership and owning it if you say it wasn't me, it was the players? You can't do that.
Well, you cannot do that. No, not at all. But what I'm trying to express to you is that sometimes people that work for you sabotage you on purpose. But as a leader, you should always take the ownership. You should.
Mary, final word.
I would never sabotage Steve on purpose.
Mary, go ahead.
No, my final word is my final word is Elvin's telling us that it's time to say goodbye, and hopefully everyone enjoyed this mini seminar on the art of the Q&A. And the next time that you're engaged in a Q&A, maybe your palms will be a little less sweaty and you'll be a little bit more confident in your responses. Lessons in Leadership, the best show on leadership anywhere in the world. It's documented. You should check it out. This edition of Lessons in Leadership is made possible by the Buccino Leadership Institute at Seton Hall University, Prager Metis, Valley Bank, the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 825, the North Ward Center, the New Jersey Sharing Network, the Helix, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Fedway Associates Inc., Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Choose New Jersey, and Seton Hall University, showing the world what great minds can do since 1856. This is Mary Gamba. If you want more leadership tips and tools, log on to stand-deliver.com. That's stand-deliver.com.
Promotional support for this edition of Lessons in Leadership with me, Steve Adubato, and my colleague Mary Gamba has been provided by NJ.com, NJBIA and New Jersey Business Magazine, CIANJ and Commerce Magazine, and the Meadowlands Chamber and Meadowlands Media.